Well, it was a big victory for Australia in the first test against Pakistan. An innings and 5 runs. I know you
Well
probably...
remembered.
Thank you. You probably didn't really enjoy watching that in some ways, Osman. But,
I was watching it half asleep, much of it. But yeah, I mean, it was 13th straight defeat, I think, now for Pakistan in Australia, at the hands of Australia. And I was checking, I think this was the 3rd innings defeat. There have been 2 defeats by 10 wickets, 1 by 9 wickets, and 1 by 491 runs. So it's not like it's been close.
Now that's well remembered. Pat, what about this big contest that seems like it's whipping up, supposedly, between the demon that is Naseem Shah and his little bunny that is Steve Smith, because he's got him out 7 times.
Yes.
Why? Just let me understand here. Why on earth would Naseem Shah give a big 7 celebration and do everything he could to wind Steve Smith up?
I think it's something to be proud of for him. Obviously, he's not had a good time in Australia. Last series he was there. I think he ended up going for 8 and over in Sydney, if you remember that. I think you were there as well. Went for 8 and over, has not taken wickets. And he actually bowled well in the first test. He went for 200 runs, but bowled well, picked up 4 wickets. One of them was Smith. And I think it was a little bit of solace for Pakistan. It was a little bit of something to kind of chew on and hang out and celebrate. And I think what Smith said was right also. It's not like he's his bunny. He has dismissed him 7 times out of 8. And Smith does average, I think if I remember, about 27 against Yasser. But a couple of those dismissals have been Smith going for quick runs when Australia have made a lot of runs. I think there's a couple of hundreds in there as well after he's gotten out to him. So it's not like he's dominating him like Broad did Warner, for example, this summer. But it is something for Yasser, who's had a miserable time in Australia, to kind of celebrate and hold on to.
Yeah, sure. I think possibly the only danger here is that Steve Smith will become like a bunny that gets radioactive poisoning and turns into a massive, ferocious...
The Energizer bunny.
Yes!
Doesn't stop scoring runs.
Just keeps going. That is him. Now, you mentioned David Warner there and Stuart Broad. Funny that. I was going to ask you about that. The tactic that worked so well for England with Stuart Broad, why didn't Pakistan employ this tactic? Do they not watch TV or look at Twitter or
just be alive and exist? I mean, if you had watched any of the Ashes, if the Ashes had passed your conscience in any way, shape or form this year, you would have known that the one thing Stuart Broad was doing to get David Warner out every time was going round the wicket to him. Early on, straight up, right at the start.
New ball.
And this is something, as Karthik at Cricinfo, thank you very much, Hat Tip, pointed out to us, is that something that India tried back in 2014. It didn't work then because they didn't have the bowlers for it, but people knew that this is the way to go about it. So it's not something new. Now, Pakistan on that first day, we were just looking up the stats before this, and on paper, it looks like they were okay. They bowled, I think, 47 balls from around the wicket to him and 70 from over on that first day and 25 and 68 on the second day. But
how many with the new ball?
Exactly. This is the point. So with the new ball, when he would have been at his most vulnerable, they bowled, what was it? They bowled 8 out of 39 on that first day with the new ball from around the wicket. And on the second day, when they actually got him out, 26 out of 29 balls were from around the wicket. He scored 2 runs and he got out. And so, the question's going to be put to Misbah at some point, and Waqar, who's the bowling coach, said, how did you miss this? I mean, it's the one thing that nobody missed this summer, and yet somehow you guys didn't know about this.
And even if you tried it and it didn't work, or it persisted with the new ball, at least you would know, and at least you wouldn't be opening yourself up to criticism by everybody who saw the Ashes.
At least try it, right?
Yeah.
But I mean, it's shocking in a way because it suggests that did they not know about it? Which is really bad for planning's sake. Or did they not have the confidence in their bowlers?
Genuinely, you'd only have had to look on social media. You wouldn't have even had to watch the game because everybody was talking about it.
Absolutely.
So I can't think of another batsman v bowler contest this year that has probably been as talked about,
as dissected. Yeah, absolutely. 100%.
As that one. So it's
big
amazing.
miss.
Yeah, so we'll see what they do with that. Now, any other changes, do you think, to Pakistan?
Yeah, I think so. So we've been talking about, Omar yesterday did a story for us. I think we're looking at 3 changes possibly. So Imam ul Haq comes in at the top of the order, which gives Haris Sohail a miss. And this is all, what they're talking about right now. So it's not 100% confirmed. But so Haris might drop out because he's looked a bit uncomfortable against the bounce, I think, in a bit of space. He's a decent batsman, but he just hasn't looked like he's played in Australia very often, which he hasn't. So that's Imam in for Haris probably. And then with the bowlers, the one big miss that Pakistan made at Brisbane was not playing Mohammad Abbas, who only happens to be your best fast bowler in that side.
Yeah.
So he's probably going to come back in for Imran. And the other one, actually, the third one is a little bit more, it's a delicate kind of change, I guess, in the sense that not everyone will agree to it, is that they might drop Naseem Shah and bring in the other young pacer that they've got, Musa Khan. Now, the talk about that is that they want to, because he's so young, they want to manage his workload. And I'm kind of kind of divided on how I feel about that, because you obviously thought him good enough to throw him in to the series.
Yeah,
it's not like it's a 5-test series.
And it also begs the question of, are you really, if someone's that young, and if you actually feel that they're ready to play Test cricket, if you're not going to bowl them that much in the Test,
then are they ready to play Test cricket?
Then are they ready? Yeah. So that seems to be a little bit of a
I can kind of see why they've done it. They've obviously been forced into that situation by guys like Amir and Wahab pulling out of red ball cricket, so they needed somebody, and they've picked young guys. So I can kind of see how their hand was forced, but to be honest, it's a call that goes either way for me. I think if he's fit enough and he's not injured, then you throw him in again with a pink ball under lights at his pace. Who knows? You throw him in again, and I think at this stage of their careers, he's probably still a better bowler than Musa Khan, who is the other quick bowler that they're likely to play in place of him.
Now, of course, Australia going in, they don't often change a winning side, and they come into this off the back of a huge win. James Pattinson is available after serving a ban for some naughty things that he said on the field that should never be condoned in cricket. Do you think that he might come into the side, or it's not like Australia to change a winning side?
I'd be surprised, right? First of all, who would they drop? It's not a 5-test series, not the Ashes where you need to rotate your bowlers. They've got a bit of a break, I think, before New Zealand come in.
They do.
So it's not like they've got to rest anybody. I went through the bowlers. Cummins.
They're not going to drop Cummins.
They're not going to drop him. He's best bowler they have. And Hazelwood, he's up. He's talking about this being his 50th Test now. They're not going to drop him.
Yeah.
And Stark, you always kind of think, well, is he the guy who can go? Why would they need to drop him?
Pink ball with Stark.
Pink ball, the swing he gets, the angle that he brings, the pace that he generates. Why would you drop him?
There might also be a thing too in there, because he has been dropped for the slurs that he made on the field. It's not his first offence. So maybe they might look at it and go, well, look, he did only get a 1-match ban, but
we'll keep you out.
We'll just, stick with these guys who've been doing the right thing for a while.
And I think the way Australia are placed right now, luckily for them, it doesn't make a huge difference. It's not like they're forced to bring him back in. You could put pretty much any pace attack out there, and you would fancy the chances against Pakistan, especially if they get to bowl first, and you have the lights on at some point. You would fancy the chances against Pakistan.
Well, you will have the lights on at some point, of course, every day, because every day they play anyway, because it is a day-night test with the pink ball. These are actually on a very small sample. Let's just get that right from the start. They are the most experienced pink ball test players in the world.
They are.
Teams in the world.
Yeah, they are, absolutely. I think this is going to be Australia's 6th pink ball test, and it's going to be Pakistan's 4th.
It's a very small sample.
Very early movers on the pink ball on the pink ball day-night test front. But Australia's record, I know they've played them all at home in Australia. They've won every single one of their games. Which we kind of, and the closest one I think was the Pakistan-Australia one, of course, with Asad Shafiq chasing that 490 or whatever it was. I think it does, being in Adelaide, being pink ball, I think it does, however much it can, it does even it out for Pakistan a little bit.
Yeah. In
that if they have a run with the ball, then they could. I can see Pakistan bowling out Australia cheap at some point with that pink ball, just because of the bowlers they do have. I think they could do it, but a lot of it will come down on how they bat then. And Pakistan have a tendency, as we know, under pressure, under conditions that are slightly different, they kind of start to struggle. Babar Azam will be important and stuff. But, Australia's record 5 wins. Pakistan have, I think, lost 2 or 3 maybe, and won just the one day-night game.
Yeah.
But again, I would say that these are probably the conditions which Pakistan would want to kind of play in Australia, if there are any conditions that they could want to play in with the record that they have.
A particularly good toss to win, perhaps, as well.
Absolutely.
One of those games where you go from day to twilight to night, it can change things dramatically.
Yeah, absolutely. It can have an effect on, on the test how it goes. And like I say, not that Pakistan would ever want to play in Australia, given the record that they have. I think if you gave them these conditions, if you said to them Adelaide, where there's sometimes help for spin as well, under lights where Mohammad Abbas comes into play, if they play Naseem or Shaheen, we're not talking about Shaheen. He had a great test actually at Brisbane. Not a great test, but he had a good test. He had a solid test. He did a few different things that I didn't expect him to be able to do. If you get that combination right, and it's Pakistan, if you get that combination right, then who knows what can go wrong for Australia?
Okay, so Osman's predicting a big win for Pakistan, and
innings in 5 runs.
Series
Pakistan.
drawn. Let's make it an innings in 6 runs just to make sure.
Just to go one better than Australia.
Yeah, come back and check.
That streak's got to end at some point, right? That 13-match winning streak has got to end at some point for Australia.
You heard it here first. Make sure you stay up to date, of course, throughout that test right here on ESPN Cricket Info.
Thanks for watching ESPN on YouTube, and for more sports highlights and analysis, be sure to download the ESPN app, and for premium content plus live streaming, make sure to subscribe to ESPN Player.